Hello everyone. Today we are doing lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved, and we will be reading the correlating chapter text of chapter 8, The Journey Back, section 2, the difference between imprisonment and freedom. All right, let us begin. By the way, we will probably be doing these in tandem, depending on how much information I find in this first paragraph. We may end up doing them in twos. So 2 paragraphs at a time or 2 sentences at a time to break it down. It just depends.
And we're also, for the first time, doing a live stream on Facebook while we're doing this recording.
Exactly. All right, so let's begin with the chapter text, section 8, the journey back, and section 2, the differences between imprisonment and freedom. 1. There is a rationale for choice. Only one teacher knows what your reality is. If learning to remove the obstacles to that knowledge is the purpose of the curriculum, you must learn it of him. The ego does not know what it is trying to teach. It is trying to teach you what you are without knowing what you are. It is expert only in confusion. It does not understand anything else. As a teacher, then, the ego is totally confused and totally confusing. Even if you could disregard the Holy Spirit entirely, which is impossible, you could still learn nothing from the ego because the ego knows nothing. Please continue.
Is there any possible reason for choosing a teacher such as this? Does the total disregard of anything it teaches make anything but sense? Is this the teacher to whom a son of God should turn to find himself? The ego has never given you a sensible answer to anything, simply on the grounds of your own experience with its teaching. Should not this alone disqualify it as your future teacher? Yet the ego has done more harm to your learning than this alone. Learning is joyful if it leads you along your natural path and facilitates the development of what you have. When you are taught against your nature, however, you will lose by your learning because your learning will imprison you. Your will is in your nature and therefore cannot go against it.
Excellent. So what those 2 paragraphs are talking about, folks, is that the only teacher that can teach you correctly is Holy Spirit. And it's not your brother out there. It's not in a book. The one that can teach you truly is Holy Spirit, and he is within you. And because of that, you are here to learn and discern that what you are thinking and believing to be true is not, and to question everything, even what you are learning within this book. This is what this book is trying to teach us, is to start questioning. And as it says here, your ego thought system, all it does is continuously create pain and confusion for you. It has you running in circles, jumping through hoops, trying to get someplace yet going nowhere, constantly seeking and never finding. This is what the ego has you do. All right, let's continue. 3. The ego cannot teach you anything as long as your will is free, because you will not listen to it. It is not your will to be imprisoned because your will is free. This is why the ego is the denial of free will. It is never God who coerces you, because he shares his will with you. His voice teaches only in accordance with his will, But that is not the Holy Spirit's lesson, because that is what you are. The lesson is that your will and God's cannot be out of accord, because they are one. This is the undoing of everything the ego tries to teach. It is not then only the direction of the curriculum that must be unconflicted, but also the content.
The ego tries to teach that you want to oppose God's will. This unnatural lesson cannot be learned, and the attempt to learn it is a violation of your own freedom, making you afraid of your will because it is free. The Holy Spirit opposes any imprisoning of the will of a Son of God, knowing that the will of the Son is the Father. The Holy Spirit leads you steadily along the path of freedom, teaching you how to disregard or look beyond everything that would hold you back.
So, as in the previous lessons here, we were being shown that everything is our choice, our decision to hold grievances, to pick and choose what it is we want to believe in. That everything has been our choice to believe as we choose, that we are the ones holding back our own happiness and joy with our choices to judge as we do, to hold those grievances. And that is what our ego chooses for us, is to hold grievances and to point fingers and place blame, to make everyone else the cause of whatever it is we are thinking, believing, and experiencing. And in everything, we are being shown that we have to take responsibility for the choices we are making. That it is our responsibility. We are the one that is choosing in those moments to make those choices. And what he's saying here is that every time we choose the ego, we imprison ourselves. We hand away our free will to choose for ourselves what's resonating within our hearts as being true for us. And as it was saying in the previous lessons, God's will for us is whatever we so choose to experience. It is our choice to do so, nobody else's. All right, let us continue. 5. We have said that the Holy Spirit teaches you the difference between pain and joy. That is the same as saying He teaches you the difference between imprisonment and freedom. You cannot make this distinction without Him, because you have taught yourself that imprisonment is freedom. Believing them to be the same, how can you tell them apart? Can you ask the part of your mind that taught you to believe they are the same to teach you how they are different? Please continue.
The Holy Spirit's teaching takes only one direction and has only one goal. His direction is freedom, and his goal is God. Yet he cannot conceive of God without you, because it is not God's will to be without you. When you have learned that your will is God's, you could no more will to be without him than he could will to be without you. This is freedom, and this is joy. Deny yourself this, and you are denying God his kingdom, because he created you for this.
Excellent. So when we choose Holy Spirit, folks, we are choosing in those moments to stop picking and choosing for ourselves. We are choosing to let go of all we have been taught to think and believe in as being true. To question all of the stuff that we have experienced and look at it all again, and to question what we had thought we perceived and experienced that first time around. And to recognize that in those moments, we were the one judging whatever was happening or accepting the judgments of those around us. I had to look at everything I have ever experienced in my life to understand that in each and every situation, I was the one that picked and chose what everything was for, why it was all happening, and what I was doing wrong or they were doing wrong. I was constantly judging every point and aspect of it. And in so doing, I created my own living nightmare of hell. And so what they're asking us to do here constantly is to turn within to Holy Spirit, that He will free us from those nightmares that we've created for ourselves. If we simply choose to go within to Him and stop looking to our ego, who is out there in our brothers. Our brothers are a reflection of our ego. They show us everything that we have chosen to believe in to be true. And when we can take responsibility for our choice to believe as we are then able to step back and choose again, and choose differently, and recognize that your brother is simply having a misunderstanding in their own mind of what it is they are believing in to be true, a concept misperceived, an idea misperceived that had been put forward to them. And because of that, they will come to these understandings within themselves when they choose to finally look at what it is they're believing to be true. But they have to make that choice for themselves. You can only share that truth with them. Can you continue reading, please?
When I said, all power and glory are yours because the kingdom is His, this is what I meant. The will of God is without limit, and all power and glory lie within it. It is boundless in strength and in love and in peace. It has no boundaries because its extension is unlimited, and it encompasses all things because it created all things. By creating all things, it made them part of itself. You are the will of God because that is how you were created, because your Creator creates only like Himself. You are like Him. You are part of Him who is all power and glory, and therefore as unlimited as He is. To what else except all power and glory can the Holy Spirit appeal to restore God's kingdom? His appeal then is merely to what the kingdom is, and for its own acknowledgement of what it is. When you acknowledge this, you bring the acknowledgement automatically to everyone because you have acknowledged everyone. By your recognition, you awaken theirs, and through theirs, yours is extended. Awakening runs easily and gladly through the kingdom in answer to the call for God. This is the natural response of every son of God to the voice for his Creator, because it is the voice for His creations and His own extension.
Exactly. So what this is talking about, folks, is that, as I was saying before, God's will for you is perfect joy and happiness. And His will is your will. Whatever it is you choose to experience, whatever it is you will to experience, it is your choice. And He wills it for you. He does not hold back anything from you and your ability to experience as you so choose. It is completely up to you and nobody else how you experience whatever you experience. And that as you go through all of this, and accept your choices to believe as you do, you will be the one who will be extending these lessons you learn and the understandings you are given to your brothers. When you choose to become a believer in these things that are being shown to you and extend them to your brothers, you extend it throughout the kingdom. And so extend it back to yourself, receive it to yourself. Give and you shall receive. Give freely of what it is you are being given, and you will receive it in return. Allow your brother to believe as they so choose, and in turn, they will allow you to believe as you so choose by you being the example of it. It's a give and receive, folks. Whatever you put out there is what you get back. Whatever you give is what you receive. All right, that was chapter 8, The Journey Back, section 2, the difference between imprisonment and freedom. Moving on to the lesson of the day, which is lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Shall we begin? All right. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is. Even if it is really solved already, you will still have the problem, because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized. Please continue.
Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they are all the same and must be recognized as one if the one solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even as if he is given the answer, he cannot see its relevance.
Exactly. So what it's talking about there, folks, is it matters not if the truth is being put right there in your face. If you are the one picking and choosing what everything is for and what its meaning is and how it's relevant to you and whatever it is you're doing or experiencing, you will not be able to see that truth that is being set right in front of you. Because for you, that is irrelevant. Blah, blah, blah. Irrelevant. And it has no merit or meaning to you in the moment because you are not willing to hear the truth as it is being laid out before you. And that is because you are closed to hearing anything but what you are wanting to think and believe in those moments. It's in these moments that you have to be willing to set aside everything you think and know and believe to be true about whatever it is, and be willing to hear that there might be a different way. It always comes down to you and your choice to think and believe and to do whatever it is you're choosing to do. And the problem that it speaks of here is your choice to judge. That is what your choice to choose to believe as you are is. It's a judgment that you're believing in. You're the one making those choices to believe. Nobody else is. No one's making them for you. This is why it's your responsibility to accept that responsibility for yourself. That's what the atonement's all about, is accepting responsibility for the choices you have made. Please continue.
That is the position in which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you are still uncertain about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seems to confront you, and as one is settled, the next one and the next arise. There seems to be no end to them. There is no time in which you feel completely free of problems and at peace. The temptation to regard problems as many is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. The world seems to present you with a vast number of problems, each requiring a different answer. This perception places you in a position in which your problem solving must be inadequate and failure is inevitable.
Exactly. And what that's speaking of there, folks, is that everything that we've been taught to do is to believe that we are the victim and that we are the ones that are wrong and doing things wrong and that everybody else is right. And because of this, we are constantly believing that every problem is insurmountable and that we are inadequate for it and things of that nature. And when we go to try and solve these problems, we think we have to do this, jump through this hoop and jump through that hoop and run in all these circles just to get this one thing done and then do something different for these other ones. But in truth, you're doing the exact same thing over and over and over for each and every one, trying to figure out your own solutions to these problems, worrying about how you're going to pay this bill or that bill or pay the rent or do this or do that or how are we going to afford this. Everything seems to revolve around money or time or just all kinds of stuff. And it seems like everything has a different scenario. And in truth, what it all boils down to is your belief that you are not taken care of and supported fully in everything. Your lack of belief that God is supporting you in everything, that He wills for you whatever it is you so choose. That is what it is talking about here, folks. You are the one making the choice to believe this. If you're feeling abandoned, any of those things, you are the one making that choice to believe. You're the one denying yourself in those moments. Please continue.
No one could solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels, in such varying forms, and with such varied content, that they confront you with an impossible situation. Dismay and depression are inevitable as you regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly just as you think you have resolved the previous ones. Others remain unsolved under a cloud of denial and rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again, but still unsolved. All of this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem, and therefore not to let it be resolved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying consistency in all the problems that seem to confront you, you would understand that you have the means to solve them all. And you would use the means because you recognize the problem. In our longer... Did you want to say something?
No, because that just harkens back to what I was just speaking of.
Right.
So, no, please continue.
In our longer practice periods today, we will ask what the problem is and what is the answer to it. We will not assume that we already know. We will try to free our minds to all the many different kinds of problems we think we have. We will try to realize that we have only one problem, which we have failed to recognize. We will ask what it is and wait for the answer. We will be told. Then we will ask for the solution to it, and we will be told. The exercises for today will be successful to the extent to which you do not insist on defining the problem. Perhaps you will not succeed in letting all your preconceived notions go, but that is not necessary. All that is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your version of what your problems are. You are trying to recognize that you have been given the answer by recognizing the problem, so that the problem and the answer can be brought together and you can be at peace.
All right, give me a second here. So, what that is speaking of, folks, is we've been shown already through these lessons that if we are upset for any reason, we are the ones with the misperception. We are the one that has chosen to judge or believe that something is true when it is not, which is why it brings up the conflict in us. It's why whenever we defend ourselves, we are being attacked. When we are being attacked, it's like we are believing something to not be true in those moments. And what it was talking about here is that when you can recognize in the moment that you are the one with the misperception, in that moment, you are being given the opportunity to ask for the correction, because you recognize in that moment that what the problem is, and it's that you're the one with the misperception here. And it is that we are trying to correct. Our misperceptions of what we're thinking and believing to be true. And this is why we are to question everything. When we understand that we're upset about something, or we're in conflict inside about something that's being said, we're the ones that have the issue, not them. And we need to look at what we're thinking and believing in those moments. So when we can recognize that we have a problem in those moments, that is when we can bring the answer together by asking for the correction. That's what it's talking about. Please continue. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The shorter practice periods for today will not be set by time, but by need. You will see many problems today, each one calling for an answer. Our efforts will be directed towards recognizing that there is only one problem and one answer. In this recognition are all problems resolved. In this recognition, there is peace. Be not deceived by the form of problems today. Whenever any difficulty seems to arise, tell yourself quickly, let me recognize this problem so it can be solved. Then try to suspend all judgment about what the problem is. If possible, close your eyes for a moment and ask what it is. You will be heard and you will be answered.
Absolutely. So as you do these lessons, and as you do this particular lesson today, ask whenever any little problem pops up for you. Ask, why am I experiencing this? Why am I thinking and believing this in this moment? And you will be given the answer if you wait willingly. If you sit there and try not to judge what it's for. And honestly, folks, once you go and recognize that you're the one with the problem, and you sit there and you decide to ask for the correction, and in that quiet moment afterwards, those first words, the answer comes to you, usually within the first few moments. Whatever thought and words and pictures come into your mind, it's like your guides are showing you in that moment what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how to correct it. Showing you the truth of what you do. If you just stand back as if you're watching a movie as a third party, you will get it. It's detaching from it in the moment so you do not react, so you're not judging it in any way, so you can just see what's happening in front of you. That's why it suggests close your eyes and just look at it and ask for the correction without judgment, and the correction will be given. All right, folks, that was lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved, and the correlating chapter text of chapter 8, the journey back, section 2, the difference between imprisonment and freedom. Please do the work, folks. Recognize that the issue here is that all of us have been taught to blindly follow and believe without questioning whatever it is that we have been shown, said to us, done to us, that whatever it is the absolute truth, and that we are to blindly accept it and follow its example and believe it as being the absolute truth is what defines us, defines this world, and defines our brothers within it. It is this that we need to look at. We've been taught to blindly follow everything that our parents told us. And through them, our extended families, and through our extended families, our neighbors, teachers at school, the priest, the rabbi, the minister, the reverend, to blindly follow and believe whatever it is that they are dictating to you as being the truth. Then it comes to the policeman and the government itself. These are the things that we've been taught to do, to blindly follow and believe whatever's being placed before us as being true. Even when it comes to these books, we are being taught to blindly follow them and believe them without questioning. And this particular book, folks, is telling us to question everything, to question what we're taking into it, even what this is saying. Because it's the questioning that will tell us whether or not it resonates within our heart as being the absolute truth. And it is not until we finally choose to look within at what we've chosen to believe in as being true that we can release it and finally be at peace and have happiness and joy. Because we stopped looking out there. We've stopped judging. And instead, we recognize the truth of who we are within and who our brothers are. And that what is here in of value and is true and is worth extending is why we've come here to be and believe. It's what resonates here in our hearts. This is what we came here to learn, who we are. So please do this work, folks. Please do the work. Only you can do it. Only you can do this work. You are the one that knows what it is that you've experienced and what you're choosing to believe in your own heart and mind. And only you can go within and ask for the clear understanding of the choice you made and choose again, choosing differently. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sabrina Reyenga.
And I am Alex Reyenga.
Hugs, love, light, and blessings on your journey, my brothers. You are loved. We love you. Be the light you are meant to be. Be the light we know you to be. Please